In this week's commentary, Jason Rosenbaum looks at whether the legislative process is flawed, considering so much that's still left undone. But as he explains, a lot can happen in the last few days of the session.
There are probably 10,000 metaphors to describe a legislative session of the Missouri General Assembly. But if I had to choose one, I would compare the roughly 5-month-long bill binge to the endless set list in the video game Rock Band. For those unfamiliar with Harmonix's Godsend, Rock Band is a game where players attempt to emulate popular songs through plastic controllers. The endless set list forces the most patient and prolific gamers to plow through every single song in the game in one fell swoop. Much like the 84-track marathon, a legislative session can elicit fatigue, frustration, exhilaration, hilarity, drama, and anger. And when it's all over, you're torn over whether getting to the end was incredibly rewarding or a complete waste of time. That's certainly the case this year. With only a few days to go before the General Assembly calls it a day, there were certainly enough fireworks this year to light up a suburb or two. Just last week, Republicans accused a gubernatorial aide of bribing lawmakers to secure a favorable vote. That came a few weeks after two GOP lawmakers accused each other of being beholden to certain political consultants. And that came a few weeks after another Republican lawmaker called a federal abortion law the greatest federal power grab since the War of Northern Aggression. But flashes of temper and Civil War analogies aside, few would say this session bred many significant accomplishments thus far. A repeal of the state's construction work in progress law, for example, was unsuccessful. Republicans could not get controversial items such as abortion restrictions, alterations to the nonpartisan court plan, and reform of the state's second injury fund through the legislative process. Even seemingly milquetoast items like the governor's economic development package got jammed up in the legislative process. What looked like a legislative slam dunk at the beginning of the year still isn't finished as of press time. There were, however, a couple of successes that prevent this session from being a complete epic fail. For example, lawmakers did their constitutional duty and passed a budget on time, thanks to the infusion of federal stimulus dollars. The Columbia delegation, which for years was fragmented with incessant infighting, banded together to get tens of millions of dollars worth of capital improvement projects for the University of Missouri to Governor Jay Nixon's desk. And perhaps it's unfair to judge the worthiness of this session at this point in time, as major bills typically aren't passed until the last few days of session. This week could see passage of the aforementioned economic development package and a program meant to expand health care to certain subsets of Missourians. There are also a stable of omnibus bills dealing with transportation, the judiciary, and education that could also pass muster in the final few hours. Of course, there's also the view that Missourians, our Hawaiians, Illinoisans, our Mainers are safest when a legislature is out of session and can't pass any laws. Those individuals might want to avert their eyes because they might be getting more lawmaking in the last week than they can handle. I'm Jason Rosenbaum.
That's it for this week's Talking Politics. Podcasts of this show and all of our shows are available at kbia.org. Thanks for listening. I'm Sarah Whitmire.